Okay, we are a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to be iffy about the afternoon break, 3:45, if people want it or not. Okay, so we'll play that by ear. But we're going to give the floor back over to Brother Tom.
But you know what's interesting? Do you recognize the energy that's in the room this time around compared to the last time we did this?
Yes.
Do you feel the way in which I call this out to consider what we have lost? You see, we're getting to the sixth dimension now. Because I saw many more people up on the floor. And I saw many more people getting into it in a way that they were freeing themselves without concern about how I was looking. That's not important in that. It's the energy. Everyone relates in their own individual way to the drum and the drum to them. Like we all have our own heartbeat. And when we're doing this, the heartbeat is real, and it's important to understand really what happened in this room just now, because I was checking it out. I could feel it. And after it all wrapped up and we all took back our seats, I felt a release of energy that was not in the room the first time we did this. And that's what happens when we start being who we are as people. And it's very important, because just as we speak of brother with the farm, we speak of brother with the drum. We're getting back in sync with our vibration, back with our drum. Take these classes. You have it right here. But see, when we have these experiences, we all go our own separate ways afterwards. Oh, that was a heavy lecture. But what happens after that? Sign up for the brothers' classes. That's what happens after. And to continue dancing, so that when I come back to Sacramento, having been in this class, you know, y'all gonna be standing up waiting for the brother to come in and start playing. In fact, some of y'all probably be dancing and the drummer not even gonna be here yet. Because of the nature of what happens to us as a people. But you can feel it. Okay, because what I'm saying are words, but I'm asking you, do you feel it?
I feel it.
And that's important to understand, that this is what we need to take back to our communities, back to our children, back to the energy that we need to bring back to us. This is part of what we allowed them to disassociate ourselves from. Because I was feeling it. And Brother Acronym, hey, what can I say, brother?
How does he do that, right?
Hey, there's no words. You know, there's no words, because, you know, I saw a direct relationship between what he was doing with words and what the drummers were doing with the drum.
That's it.
The same exact thing. And this is why many times the Jele,
That's it.
the community historian, always talked to the drum.
That's it.
And so when he was laying out the legacy, the history, the information, the drummers were doing their thing while he was doing it, because the voice, the heart, all is part. This is the Africa. We can do all the reading of the books we want to, and all it has its place. I'm talking about being African. Because I know that there are a lot of people outside of our culture who know our history sometimes better than us.
Of course.
But they don't have that root. They got the key, it's in the door, they open the door, but they can't walk in. But see, I don't need them to. Just open the door, I get it myself. James Brown, that's James Brown. That's James. No, I don't want no one giving me nothing, just open this door, I get it myself. And as it relates to some of us, not here now, I'm speaking of us in general, because I don't like to point fingers. But there's another James Brown song I like to quote. You know, where he say, you know, it's like a dull knife, just ain't cutting. Talking loud. That's James Brown. That's James Brown. You talking about acronyms. But brother, I salute you, brother. Thank you, brother. Man, I appreciate it. I won't be like you, but so I mean, I'm feeling, I'm really feeling Sacramento, and I'm just so thankful that I have something to go back to New York and tell our people that something's happening in Sacramento. Brother took me on a tour of this facility. Something's happening in Sacramento. In Fresno, you have a Sister Makeda who has a place called the World Beat. Well, I call it temple. I told her, you can't call this a center. This is a temple. the drawings on the walls, very much like as you walk through the hallways in the corridor. This is a temple here. This is not a center. For some people, they can walk in. It can be a house. It can be a building. It can be. But when you walk in and you know what you're looking at, it's a temple. When I saw them eyes of who on that door, that's a temple. That is not a center. That's not. In fact, those aren't even doors. I said, I'm walking through the eyes. Wow. Because I know what I'm looking at. When you know your history, when you know your culture, as our brother Listerville Middleton said in his poem on the origins of things, you know, sharpen your eyes and tune your ears so you know what you see and understand what you hear. We must transform ourselves, but information does play a very important part in this transformation. There's no question. And it is important that everywhere I go, as I said, one of the homework assignments was for us to study and know the countries of Africa. By December 31st, 2013, I charge us with knowing the countries of Africa, that we can name them. My advice is to study them by region. The second thing is we must embrace, as I spoke to you about Meduneta and about this symbolic language, a picture speaks 1,000 words. A symbol speaks 1,000 pictures. When you are reading Meduneta, it is far, far beyond what we have ever thought we're actually looking at. Meduneta is the foundations of an entire new way of thinking. It's a whole new stargate into another world of thinking. The world we're living in is the same world that our ancient Kemetic ancestors lived in, but the way in which they viewed the world was very different from the way we view the world. The things that we are looking at, we see them from a three-dimensional perspective. When our ancestors looked at things, they saw them from a six-dimensional. Same thing you're looking at, but it's six-dimensional. Okay? I think it goes back to an exercise, something that I saw you all doing earlier, when he was looking at it. And, you know, like, I'll just go real quick through it. From what I think I saw, he had a camera up on a piece of paper, like that. And on the paper it was white, and it was a black box. Am I right? But when you view it from that camera, it was a picture of a woman with flowers, something like that. Say again?
It was a painting that I did.
A painting that you did. But what you were holding up was a piece of white.
Okay.
Is there something personal that you don't want to?
No, absolutely it's not. Essentially, when you're done speaking,
please stand and talk to us, so that we can understand.
I deal in graphic technology, so I'm sort of on sort of new stuff. Okay. And so after the speaking, my cousin said, "Well, what did you get from this?" And I said, "You know, I got to tell you, it was the symbolism." Now, I'm fairly familiar with a lot of this background. I've educated myself, my family, but there are certain things that jump out at me. Reason symbolism jumped out at me because of exactly what we're talking about. The new technology that I'm working on right now is called augmented reality. Now, you can look it up. Real new, brand new. They're only doing it in Europe. But really what you're doing is working with markers or symbols. And once you bring up your iPad or your iPhone or any smartphone, anything else can come out at you. Now, I'm an artist, I do visual painting, but I also do music, poetry, this kind of thing. Well, when I start working with augmented reality, being who we are, everything pops in my head. Now, I'm listening to this poet over here. I can see him right now in augmented reality with words. Every single word, every single acronym he used, I can bring up the word for that. When my brother starts talking about symbolism and going back to our symbolism, why can't that one symbol show us every single sense, the 6 areas, the universe, whatever it may mean, and how it identifies to a symbol. So yeah, this is what I came out of. And like I said, this is real new, but look it up, augmented reality. It's so new, but in a minute, we'll probably all have it in our hands. And hopefully it'll come from me.
And by the way, we do already have it.
Yes.
That's how it came into existence in the first place. It's already amongst us. Brother, let me ask you a question. I had a friend that was a musician. His name was Onaje Gums. I used to ask him, did he dream music? You see, the world that you're situated in is how your nightlife, if I may call it that, how your melatonin is expressed within you. You dream words,
No.
Yes, I do, but I think it's about my upbringing because my parents, I had a very strict father. He's made me pack my room up and put everything in the garage and leave a Bible and dictionary in my room. That's all you can do. So basically, I was into the word from the Bible and the dictionary. But when you say, do I dream? I know it's coming from somewhere else. I know, like, I can wake up in the middle of the night and I look, oh, I got an acronym. You know, I'm like one of like a woman like having a brand new pair of shoes. She wants to be the first one. That's how I would work. I got this word. That's how I do it. So yeah.
See, the reason why I say this is because we all are and this is what our ancestors were telling us, not just in Kemet, but the Dogon tell us the same thing. The Luba of Central Africa tell us the same thing. You can go down to Southern Africa, and our ancestors are telling us the same exact thing. There's a cultural unity, as Dr. Diop teaches us. There's a cultural unity in Africa. It presents itself differently because of its geographic location. If you're in a place that is a desert, then your reality is going to be sand. If you're in a place that's a very thick forest, your reality is going to be a forest. If you're in a place that's a savanna, it's going to come to you as a grassland. If you're around certain animals, it's going to come to you as animals. And that's the reality of the world that we live in. The Creator, the Ancestor, our existence speaks to us from our geographic location. However, the theme that it presents itself is the same. It's like the same script, different actors. You see? And we have been dumbed down. Really, we've been dumbed down. We have been stunted. Because we're afraid that people, you know, like when I'm in a mixed group of people culturally, I never say, did you hear that? Because I know that I hear things they don't hear. Because I know that the melanin deposited in my inner ear is working at a rate that is so far more vibrational that I can pick up sounds. Okay.
They're diagnosing our people left and right with these big, and then filling them with drugs because they are not allowing them to get in touch with their inner circle. He's telling you the truth. I see it all the time.
And it's happened to us collectively. And unfortunately, it's gotten to the point that even we do it to ourselves.
That's right.
Because don't we say, I must be crazy. Your ancestors are talking to you. I must be crazy. You better open your eyes and listen to what they're saying to you. Because this is very real. Please, my sister. I'm glad because, by the way, this is interactive. I ain't waiting for no question and answer period. Okay, hit it while the iron is hot.
I'm just going to tell this story. I used to be a crane operator for Local 3 operating engineers, and that's an exploited position for an African American woman. Nevertheless, they put me in a field, and they told me to do certain things, and I was very distressed. And I began to, the clouds began to roll back and the sun came up on me. And I looked into the sun and a voice spoke to me. You can do this. Your fathers in Egypt built pyramids. And when they came back to that place, I had did everything that was necessary to set up that ground. And what they said, who taught you this? No, I think because then I've been called crazy.
I lost your job.
Maybe show them.
This is the bottom line. The second homework assignment that I'm going to give you along with knowing the countries of Africa is I'm encouraging you to adapt and to embrace Medunetta as the classical African language. And I'm saying to start with the alphabet. So, this is a book, this brother, Ayikwe Arma, along with Sister Lamb, have written, well, Arma has written a book, 2000 Seasons, and the Healers, okay? But he's also written a book called Hieroglyphs for Babies, where it's a, just to give you an example, where it's a follow the number kind of thing. Okay, now I have revamped the book. for my own personal reasons as it relates to curriculum development. This is not how the book looks, okay? The book has the introduction piece. What I did is that I just cut out, talk about cut and paste, I cut out all of the writing across the book, and what I did is I just put it under each other to do the introduction this way. In the book, he has it written across, and this explanation of the letters is at the bottom, and there's one picture. And so what I did, blessings on Arma, I hope you don't mind me doing it, but as a curriculum writer, I made Xerox copies, and I put 2 here to practice, and then I put, in English, I put the explanation of the letter A, and then en français, I put the explanation because great geniuses have come out of Haiti who speak French. And so, let's learn another language while we're going through it. And I always take an opportunity. Every moment is a learning experience. So learning French also helps us when we go to French West Africa. It helps us when we want to speak to the Senegalese or want to speak to the Sierra Leoneans and others of our people who speak French. Martinique, St. Lucia. So I use everything that I possibly can. So instead of not including the French, I added the French, but I used it in order to explain. So to follow the number kind of thing, this is the letter A, the vulture. And I'm advising us, encouraging us, start with the alphabet. Let's not overwhelm ourselves, because we get excited about things, and I can feel that. And so we get all these books on Medunet and hieroglyphs, and we attempt to really get in. And sometimes down the road we may get overwhelmed and then discouraged, and then we just stop. So let's start with something that's fun, something that's interesting. Start with the alphabet. And then have our children sit down. Make copies for the children. Let the children learn Medunetta as we're learning Medunetta. Classical African civilization. Demand. Assume it. Don't ask nobody. Just make it. Medunetta, Medunetta, is our classical African language. When somebody say, well, explain it. No. Why? For you? No. Medunetta is the classical African language. Take it or leave it. They're not important to us. We make them too important. We also make them a little bit more intelligent than they really are. I found they're really not that intelligent at all. And I'm not saying this in an insulting manner, so please understand this. I am saying you are seeking knowledge. It's like going to the infant while grandma is sitting at the table. When I want information, I want to go to the person that's been around the longest, that's had the most experience with the information I seek. I'm not going to ask the infant. He not even, or she not even going to be able to express it to me. I think we give them too much power. I don't think they're that intelligent, but I do think they do one thing better than us. Peoples of Eurasian descent. Well, that comes as part of it with no conscience. They can smell survival. They can smell up to 3 seconds of survival before they become extinct. And they do whatever they have to do to maintain it. They would even use their own mothers and their fathers and their babies to be able to survive. And that's what's happening in our society today. When everybody's talking about, oh, I'm worried that my children will not have the life, that's called the Cronus complex. The Cronus complex says, I am going to do better than my father, and I'm going to make sure my children cannot do better than me. That was born from the Greco-Roman experience. Whereas the dynastic period was built so that every generation did better than the one that preceded. This one is set up. This is the last for them. Their children will not do better. And that's how they set it up. Just look at them. Look at how they're conducting themselves now. Look at the things that they're voting down that's in their best interest. Everything that they said they wanted, President Obama said, you know something, I think I'm going to give it to you. I don't want it now. That's psychopathic behavior. Yeah, there's a book called The Racial Personality of the Psychopath by Bobby U. Wright. Get that book. Know who you're dealing with. Urugu by Dr. Marimba Ani. Go to Civilization or Barbarism Part 2 where he deals with the Asian mode of production. Dr. Diop. Understand who you're dealing with. My mama used to always say, Skip. You know, that's my nickname. Skip. For you to succeed in what you're doing, you got a big mouth, man. But for you to succeed in what you want to do, you got to think like your enemy. Because if you think like you think, you're never going to get the right solution because you're not thinking like the enemy's thinking. When you start thinking like the enemy, then you start getting success because you know what to come. We don't think like that. We think like us. Don't think like us. Think like them. And you know something? I don't blame them for what they're doing. Because if I were them, I'd do it myself. In fact, in 1865, when I would have lined every African up and shot him dead. If I were of them, you know why? Because I would have been able to foresee today was coming. And I would have made it so today never comes. Two of the saddest words in the English language. I'm going to give to them. Too late. We're here. And we're powerful. And we're better than ever before. Please, brother.
I'm going to say, so what is the, explain that last part again in more, they would not know what is to come. So what has come? What has come
is the African Americans for Balanced Health. No, I'm serious. You know, what has come is the Israeli family farm. Yes. Did I pronounce it right, brother?
Yisrael. But
Yisrael. No, man, I'm going to say it right. That's right. Israel family. That's what's come.
That's right. Oh,
you see, those days of being on the planet, I'm just speaking about Sacramento right now. I'm not even talking about other areas. This was not supposed to happen. When you study the history of social phenomena, right, when they were impacted by Africans, when the Moors came in and developed them. See, let's step back for a minute so we can go back to the root of the problem. When African people had left Africa and went into the northern climate, and when they had traveled as far up as the 51st parallel latitude north, it cuts Ireland in half, it cuts England in half, it cuts Europe and Asia in half. It's the polar cap. It cuts the United States up a certain way. About 60,000 years ago, an ice age hit. There are 4 ice ages. Okay? The first ice age is called the Gunz, G-U-N-Z. About 1.72 million. I'm not getting too caught up in dates. I get caught up in chronology, how things happen sequentially. About 1.72 years, give or take, a Gunz, G-U-N-Z, ice age hit Europe. Okay. On the American continent, which is part of the polar cap, it was called the Nebraskan, because the ice cap came down as far as the state that we today call Nebraska. Okay. It lasted for quite a few 100,000 years, and then there was something that was called the interstadial. The interstadial was a warming trend that brought the temperatures back somewhere just above possibly a winter in the United States, like the East Coast, where I am, New York, give or take. The second ice age came, called the Mindel, M-I-N-D-E-L. That ice age hit. In the United States, it was called the Wisconsin, because it came down as far as Wisconsin. No human beings up there. This is just straight up geology right now. Lasted for a couple 100,000 years. Interstadial came. A warming trend. Lasted maybe 100,000 years. Came the next ice age called the Riss, R-I-S-S. Okay? In the United States, it was called the Illinoisan. because it came down as far as the state of Illinois. We can see the ice boulders. That's what the geology. Luis Agaziz, A-G-A-Z-Z-I-Z, is the one that did the research that comes up with this concept. Last forge time, interstadial comes. Warming trend. All of a sudden, another ice age comes. It's called the worm. Well, I call it, when I'm talking about this, teaching to the amygdala. Because when you tell a child you're stupid, you're dumb, you'll never get this, you're worthless, forget about Ritalin. I'm not even talking about the drugs we give our children. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just a child that is basically with no drugs in class being told what he or she can't do. You better pass the test. You're going to fail the test. Your mama going to beat you because she want to go to North Carolina. And if you go to summer school, she going to beat you. When that child sits down to take the test, that information is locked in the amygdala. The amygdala acts like a prison. Y'all get test anxiety? It's because of the amygdala. Everything that you think is dependent on this test. So you're afraid. And so therefore, since you've been taught through fear, you want this license, you won't be able to work. Everything that you're trying to recall is locked in prison because you're afraid you're going to fail the test. Like I tell my students in school, don't worry about passing the test. Worry about learning something. Because if you learn something, you'll pass the test. It's just another way of looking at it. It's funny how our minds function and how warped theirs are and how we bought into this illusion. Because you know, with all the tests that they take, the great majority of doctors that I know that their patients die on the operating table, they have a license. Most lawyers that lose their case have a license. The great majority of people that I know that have car crashes, they have a license. Just because you have a license don't mean you know what you're doing. And this is the world that we're living in. We're test-driven. Why? Because it's a multi-billion-dollar business. That's why they do that testing thing. On the floor of your lateral ventricles, you have an entity there on both of your lateral ventricles. It's called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for your long-term memory. That's who you want to teach to. You want to teach to your long-term memory. And when you teach to the long-term memory, it's like Kwame, same Kwame, not being able to understand something. Say, Kwame, don't worry about it, man. We're going to get this together. I know you're smart, man. You're going to do it. Release the tension. Release the fear. Let him relax. Kwame, let's go back. Let's think about how would you solve the problem. Don't even try to help him solve the problem from your perspective. Kwame, how would you solve this problem? What would you do to me? What are you looking for? Have a conversation with Kwame. That's called talking to the hippocampus, to the long-term memory. Let me ask you this. I want you to go back, and I want you to go back to that teacher that you remember, that was your favorite teacher, that made it all good for you. And it don't make a difference what subject she taught. She just made you feel so good about yourself, or he made you feel that you could handle anything. She taught to your hippocampus. She taught to you because you remember her specifically in your long-term memory. Because everything she or he represented to you was your long-term memory, because he or she made you feel comfortable and relaxed. You could handle this. No problem. It's just a matter of what do we have to do to get you there. It's not about whether you will or will not get there. It's what do we have to do to get there. You see? And so it's called teaching to your hippocampus. And that's what I try to get to explain. I met Professor John Henry Clark when I was 12 and a half years old.
He talked to your hippocampus.
Yeah, oh, he massaged my hippocampus. He went inside my brain and just... He had just returned back from West Africa, having gone through the trauma of losing Malcolm. He was Malcolm's teacher, history teacher. And he had just come back from, this 1966, he had just come back from spending some time in West Africa, particularly Ghana. And he came back. And I met him almost, I'm not sure exactly how long, because he never really liked to talk about what he went through when Malcolm. He used to always just say, damn, we had a chance. That's all you say, damn, we had a chance. Malcolm was our chance. He used to always say that. He was a chance. So I met him, he was 51, and I was 12 and a half. I never felt uncomfortable in his presence. I still can remember calling him up and him saying, hey man, how you doing? I still can hear his voice. Hey man, how you doing? Hey, Professor Clark. Hey man, how you doing? He didn't even care who it was. He knew it was me. Hey man, how you... Right from then on, my comfort level was there. He was talking my hippocampus from that point on. And so everything he said just came through. So a lot of who I am comes not because of me, but because of him teaching to my hippocampus. He just simply placed his information in my head. He didn't even have to teach me. He just placed it because he knew how to talk to me. He made me feel comfortable. He made me laugh. When did we become so mean to each other? When did we become so impatient with each other?
Saw it on TV.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have learned, we have been bit by the vampire, and now we are part of the undead. And while you may have tried to avoid Dracula throughout the whole movie, once you get bit, you start to be a vampire yourself. Yes. Yes. And that's the first step. You turn on yourself.
Parasite.
You become a parasite. And the first person you start feeding on is yourself.
Hello.
And then when you've eaten enough of yourself, you start eating on other people. And that's not because you were born to do that. It is because that's the situations all to cases. And that's how it happened. Please.
I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what you're saying.
Veggie back.
Veggie back. But I go home to Jamaica quite often. Those that know me, once a year is my time to get to my retreat. And, you know, most of the people, because, you know, they don't have a lot of money and they have, it seems like endless time, they spend a lot of time watching TV. And so I don't watch TV that much, but I kind of wanted to zero in to see what they watch there. And they're being educated on the Eurocentric system. That's what feeds them in the evening when they have nothing to do. So one of the big things that I saw going on in the medium there is that they had, that they were, their concern was bleaching. Big, big, big. Bleaching is a heavy thing. They were on TV talking, a woman showing it, look how light I got it. And so totally losing themselves, the ones, the young and upcoming, and it was so sad and horrible. So bleaching, but then I also see they're taking up our issues here too, like bullying. Yeah, they talked about bullying and how bullying should and should not work for them. So you could see that they're looking for a way, and they're getting away from the spiritual way of who they are. And it was really, really sad.
Yes. Yes. Well, you see, for all struggle there are sacrifices. And I guess that we have to go there in order to get here. As sad as it is, there are sacrifices. Because we learn as we go through and the harder the experience, the better the lesson. And unfortunately, some of us who are innocent are used as the folly for the sacrifice. And so that becomes a great challenge. But the question becomes, what did you learn from it? You know, I mean, well, I'm speaking about us in general, for anything that happens, you know.
Turn off the TV.
Yes, you could, because I remember when I was first going to Jamaica back in 1981, the television shut off at a certain time. Well, I remember growing up myself, the television shut off at a certain time. You know, the Star Spangled Banner, bang, that's it. So, I mean, I remember that also. But money changes all things, you know. And so we have to learn from these lessons. And we have to understand that deeply rooted in the brain is the DNA of all time and space. And so these please, my sister. Okay.
Go ahead, finish your statement.
But is it directly related to what we're talking about now? Because I'm about to take off.
Yeah, it is. And you can answer it later if you want. So it's just a question that keeps coming in based on things that I would like if you could address at some point how, you know, this thing got turned around. And I know I probably read it, but maybe I didn't understand it at the time. Because I've been to Kemet also, and, you know, we've shared, start studying our greatness. And, I mean, how did this thing get turned around? Actually, I've heard a couple of theories. And we ended up being slaves shipped all around them.
Well, see, my bottom line in observing that is, even when you go back to Kemet, you're looking at the 5th dynasty. Pepi the First, Pepi the Second,
Right.
begins to give large land grants to the priesthood. And the priesthood props up the Nesutbiti. That's what we call the Pharaoh. Pharaoh is not our word. Nesutbiti is our word for that person that we call the Pharaoh. They propped him up for the people to listen to him as God on earth. As he spoke, the Nesutbiti spoke to the people, they said, give the land to the priesthood. So there was a collaboration between the political arm, because remember, Kemet is a theocracy. It is a land run by a spiritual system. But the spiritual system is unlike what we are experiencing. It's not a religious system. There's a difference. There's a real serious difference. But what happened was, pretty soon the people got tired. They said, I'm tired. I don't want to deal with this stuff no more. And so what they did is they revolted, and they brought in, that's what eventually the 6th dynasty came. And then as we began to fight amongst ourselves, there was a group of people that had conquered Africans traveling from east to west, and they were living in an African land known as Canaan. Today we call it Israel. Yesterday we called it Palestine. The day before yesterday we called it Canaan. They started to come over, okay? And as the Africans began to see them take advantage, these Eurasians, still brown complexion, but they were coming over more dedicated to the lighter side. We get the name Abraham from, historically speaking, okay? They're going to come across, and they're going to take advantage, and they're going to bring in the first intermediate period, and they're going to promote the chaos. And by this time, there are many people. So the reason why the Kemetic legacy came down during the old dynasty simply was because we were fighting amongst ourselves. That's what brought us down, because we could never have gone down as strong as we were. But what brought us down? What brought us down was people messing with the people's minds about spirituality. That's what brought it down. And the masses of people said, oh no, you ain't coming with that nonsense. So the only way that the Intefs and Mentuhotep was able to bring back the Kemetic legacy during the Middle Kingdom was to bring down, in fact, that the Intef 1, 2, and 3 and the Mentuhoteps literally gave up power to the people and took the power from himself and the priesthood, and that's what restored the Middle Kingdom. Lasted for a while, and then you have the Asians. See, because by this time, you have the Assyrians coming deep and down inside of Kemet. And so now you have these so-called Hyksos. Don't got no talent, don't got nothing. They're coming in as invaders, and what they attempt to do is to take over the Kemetic legacy. They stay basically in the Delta area, and by the 17th dynasty, you have two major powerful pharaohs. Sennacherib Tao and Seqenenre Tao. So next time you're looking into the Asian spiritual system and you're wondering where the word Tao comes from, it's Kemet. That was their name, Tao. Please, brother.
Excuse me, everybody.
Yes,
but
brother.
I just have to shake your hand one more time.
Okay.
Stay in touch, and man, y'all get this and give it to me when y'all come to class.
All right. Give your brother. Hey, James Brown again. Give your brother some. So, is that on camera?
Yes. Delete?
No, man, that's okay. That's okay. You can edit it later on.
More romantic?
So the answer to your story is how we got here is they have come amongst us as a divine lesson to us. I believe there's a purpose for them, a very important purpose. So don't reject or don't get upset that those who have come amongst us have done to us, because they've been a major, powerful lesson for us to remember for all time and space. Number one, the lesson is this: the lowest of the low can bring down the highest of the high, when the highest of the high forget who they are.
Hello.
We forgot who we were. We strayed from Ma'at and we went to Ishvet. Ma'at is the road, it's the golden road. It's the road of all things wonderful and beautiful. And when you stray from that road, it's called Ishvet. It's not the wrong road, it's just not the right road. Because on the wrong road, there are lessons to be learned, which are very important. And to understand what the right road is. How do you know what the right road is if you don't know what the wrong road is? So it's important. And our ancestors did not look at things good and bad, right and wrong. They looked at things like right and what exists when it's not right. Good and what exists when it's not good. Please, brother.
I was just going to go back to Timbuktu and that area of the Nile moving across and changing all the landscape of all what was Africa Central, maybe. So that's a little difference when North have a lot of the land mass and the water mass, and people come onto the land and kind of interrupt.
Yes.
Versus with the central land where they lost the waterways, and so they had to actually migrate and maybe didn't have it quite set up in other parts of Africa.
Yeah. What brought the Moors down was that Boabdil was fighting with his father-in-law. The Moors were fighting amongst themselves, and that allowed Castile and Aragon to come in and unite. They hated each other, but they hated us more. So they could unify around something that they hated combined. When you look at Carthage, when you're looking at Hannibal, okay? Carthage was mistreating Numidia, which was another ancient, powerful North African complex civilization. They mistreated Numidia, and the Romans knew this. So they say, yo, listen, okay, help us out. Okay, we got something for you. Help us out. So Numidia, hating their brothers and sisters who the Carthaginians, decided to go in contact with the Romans, and what happened? They both were destroyed. Because the Numidians weren't smart enough to understand the difference between a friend, an enemy, and an ally. I think some of us have that problem. See, we think allies are friends. Allies are not friends. And World War II proved that. We fought against Germany and Japan, and we allied ourselves with Russia and China. And after World War II, we aligned ourselves with Russia, with Japan and Germany, and we fought the other countries, Russia and China. So who was our allies at one time become our enemies next time. There's a difference between having an ally. An ally is only your friend for as long as the mission need to get done.
Okay.
Once the mission is accomplished, your ally can become more of an enemy than the enemy you fought in the beginning. But we don't know the difference. So we let folk in our neighborhoods, we let them come because we thought that they were our friend. You thought wrong. And this is where we're coming from. Please, brother.
Based upon, about how we, let's talk about our past as well. I know you've been one of the greats who have acknowledged that we have genius today.
Absolutely.
I remember that was the question earlier about what do we have today. I know that you have an excellent take with the brother, Dr. Gabriel Oyibo.
Yes.
And he has the God group theory. I was wondering if that's the brother's living today.
Yes.
But if you could explain that a little bit. I don't claim to know a lot about it, but it is about something that's happening right now that I know you know firsthand about.
Okay. Let's get into today's science. Okay. Let's go back to Max Planck in the middle 19th century, 1800s, 1850, 55. Max Planck was the one that came up with concepts of what's called quantum physics. Quantum, you know, when you say you took a quantum leap, well, a quantum is a very small space. But it's a space that is almost like you're in another territory once you cross over it. Okay, it explains the life within. Okay, it explains atomic life. It explains the story of the proton, the neutron, and the electron. Okay, it explains the stories of it being broken down into quarks and leptons in Mills fields. I'm just giving it to you so that it's on tape and so that you understand the science behind what it is that I'm talking about. It's the small world. It's the atomic world. It's the world that's from the skin in. Let's jump up to 1905. By the way, there are formulas and laws that structure the small world. Albert Einstein comes up with the special and general law of relativity. Special law deals with electromagnetism, and the general law deals with gravity. There are formulas that Einstein developed that answered the questions of the large world. Okay? The laws of relativity deal with the world outside. In other words, from the skin in is quantum, skin out is relativity.
Okay.
Okay?
Got that.
Both have laws that govern the small world and the large world. Albert Einstein said, but wait a minute. When we look at atoms and electrons, and when we look at the way in which the electrons are circling the nucleus, and then when we look at the solar system and we see how the planets are circling, and that there is a centripetal and centrifugal force that dominates and is in both worlds, there must be a formula that will answer both at the same time. He called it the grand unified theory. He said there's a formula that pertains to both the inner world and the outer world. Dr. Gabriel Oyibo, Nigerian brother from the Ngala people. I was introduced to him back in the 90s by a mutual friend that said he was at a dinner party and Gabriel Oyibo from Nigeria was explaining how his ancestors had come from the Nile River. A Nigerian talking about his origins being in Egypt. Wow. And he began to tell me about all these little children's stories that they used to sing when they were children that talked about the great river of the East, just like the Dogon. I said, wow, I got to get this brother to my center so he can talk to the community about this. So I brought him up. And he began to talk. And he began to drop this knowledge. I said, wow, this is really something else. And while I was there, there was a sister from Nigeria that came. And she started to sing a song. And then pretty soon, Dr. Oyibo and his woman were singing the same song. Two different nations in Nigeria. And those songs talked about I came from the great river in the east. Because he woke up her mind when she remembered the song she sang when she was back in Nigeria and about the Nile. See, we're waking each other up. It's called a quickening. We're waking each other up. And this is what's happening to us as a people. And for some it can be very scary. Because you're hearing and experiencing things that are scaring you, because these are the voices that are being opened that have never been, that have always been there, but you didn't listen to them. Now you hear them, you say, it's been here all the time. Okay? So, he's talking, and he's a mathematician, brilliant mathematician. And he starts talking about turbulence in physics. And he starts talking about turbulence, and all I keep thinking about as he's talking about turbulence is I'm thinking that sounds like Ptah. And what Ptah did at the beginnings of the origins of the cosmic universe in the Shabaka stone. And I'm saying, wow, there's a connection here. So afterwards I go up to Brother Dr. Oyibo and I say, brother, that book on turbulence that you just finished. He said, yeah, I just finished it. It's on the press. Nova Publishing. Nova Publishing on turbulence, Dr. Gabriel Oyibo. I said, wow, I said, I have to get one. He said, call them and tell them that I recommend it. He said, I'll recommend, and they'll give it to you for a discount price. I said, wow, that's fantastic. I call them up, they say, yeah, we've spoken to Dr. Yibo, and he recommended that we give you this book at a discount. We're going to give you a good discount. We're going to give it to you like it was Dr. Yibo. But you never get around to it. Pick something that you can do. And then I want you to list 3 things that you can do that will accomplish that goal. 3 things that you will do that can accomplish that particular goal. Next, 3 things that always get in your way from accomplishing that goal. And then 3 things that will neutralize the 3 things that always get in the way of what you need to do. And then do it. And that's how the cosmic universe came into existence. Because everything is in balance. Everything is in ma'at. Everything is equal. And when the universe decided to bring itself into existence, it was with the thought and the tongue. It thought a thought and it spoke a word and brought it into existence. And that's exactly what you did with that exercise that I just gave you. And that's what our ancestors were attempting to do, to be able to control their destiny. Because the only thing that stops us from achieving our greatest goals is ourselves. Ain't nobody else. I don't deal with that. He made me do this, or she stopped me from. No. You let them into your world to be able to impress upon you not to do it. But they didn't do it. You did it. You let them do it, and now you're using them as a scapegoat for your inability to stand up and do what you need to do. Of course, I'm not talking to you. Yeah, no more victims. Okay, no more victims. That's over with. I am not in a position in my life right now where I'm blaming anybody for the condition I find myself in. I take full responsibility. I know how I got here. So I'm not saying that didn't happen. I know how I got here. There's no question I know who did it, how they did it. But once you're thrown in the pit, you can spend your time complaining about who threw you in the pit, or you can just get out of the pit. And I'm ready to spend my time getting out of this pit. No more blame. I know you did it now, so I'm not trying to play that. I am saying for me to free myself, I must free myself of blaming other people, assume the full responsibility, because when I'm solving a math problem and I got variables, only the variables in the formula is going to solve my problem. And if I don't put them in my equation, they have no right to speak. Because you're not in my formula.
Yeah.
Oh, did I blame you? You didn't hear me raise, you didn't hear me mention your name. So what you talking about? I didn't blame you, so you're not a part of this. I can do by any means necessary. Because when you give someone else the power to get you out of your situation, you also give them the power to keep you in. You must assume full responsibility. Full responsibility for our children, what's going on there.
Say that last part again. That's what you repeated.
For our children, we assume full responsibility. When I see that sagging, I made that happen. In fact, quite frankly, there are children around, so I want to be careful I don't speak. We've been showing our ass for so long. Our children are saying, yo, I'm only showing you my ass because you've been showing me yours for so long. Look at how you've been acting. You ain't got no courage. When I need a job, I got to go to someone else. You can't meet my needs. You can't solve my problem. Well, I got to respect you. What's about you that I respect? I understand the African tradition. Please understand what I'm saying. But I'm talking about the real world right now, 2013. And what our children are facing out here. Because I've been walking with them all these years. I know what they face. And I admire them for even doing what they do. Because we've left them out there. Brothers, we left our little boys out there to be taken up. All gangs are formed in the hallways of middle schools. When they're kicked out of school, their class, and they're all in the hallway, they know each other. There's a very good chance that they're going to go to their zone school. So when they go to their zone school, all the characters are together. And by the first, second year, they're tired of what they're going through in high school because they're not learning about themselves. So they decide and they look out there and there's a brother say, look man, we'll take care of you. You know, East meets West.
We'll take care of you. You are fam now. Okay, but you got to shoot this one. You got to shoot that one. You got to sell this drug. But you fam. And those young babies are so, those young brothers are so desirous of a family. That becomes their family. And you want to know something? Gangs are better families than some families. I don't mean to throw it out there like that. And by matter of degree, I speak because I understand tradition, but we're not in Africa, and we're not under those norms anymore, so you can't bring something into the equation that's not there. And I think that one of the relationships that I have with our young people that makes it successful is that I'm willing to break it down as clear as I possibly can. And to let them look, man, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging your music. I'm not judging your sagging. I'm just concerned. And I'd like to know if there's anything that I can do that can help you.
That's right.
The hardest heart equals the hardest hurt. When you cancel out like terms, heart equals hurt. Sometimes we black men try to come at our, oh, you a man now? Okay, I'm going to show you what a man is. Not realizing that we are putting hard on hard as opposed to coming up underneath the hard and deal with the hurt. And so, yo, brother, come on. You know, we always get along. You know I respect you. See, because I can humble myself to them because I'm not, I think I'm confident enough in my humanity, in my manhood, that I'm not trying to prove myself to anybody. Yo, brother, come on, man. You know how I feel about you. Every time I see you, man, I say, you know, I know something happened, but you know something? I didn't do that. And I know you must be a little upset. Maybe later on when you're feeling a little bit better, let's continue talking. But right now in your anger, you're saying things, man, and I'm not happy, bro. You know, when I got up this morning, I was looking forward to seeing you. We don't get along like this, man. Something's happened. I understand, I respect it. Let's talk later. Sometimes it breaks down right there, where, okay, man, okay, man, I understand. Okay, let's. And sometimes they walk away, but they come back. And when they come back, no grudges.
Yeah.
What happened in that spot, happened in that spot, we now in this spot. This is how we're going to deal with it now. Yo, man, I said some things, man. I apologize. You're a good brother, man. I know that you're in my corner. I said, I'm in your corner all the way, brother. By the way, what's going on, man? How are things coming along? I changed the subject because we don't need to talk about that no more. That's over. Now let's move to the next level. See, this is how we can heal ourselves in our community with our brothers, with our young brothers. Had a call, going to be working with some folk in South Carolina. And I was encouraging them, you know, instead of creating all of these programs that we're telling them what we want you to do. I'm a vegetarian, but I'm willing to have a pizza party because I know you eat pizza. Okay, if I drop the vegetarian line on you, you ain't coming.
Right. I'm familiar.
Okay, I got to get a little bit of that fried chicken. Okay, French fries. Okay, I don't deal with that, but I'll do anything to bring you in. I'll hit you with the vegetarianism down the road. I'm going to bring you to the Israel farm down the road. But right now, we got the deal, you know, with a pizza, because that's what's going to bring you to me. See, we try to do too much with them, where we got to go to them and bring them to us.
That's right.
So you just have a pizza party where you just get down, you just talk. You know, just have a conversation. You know, this ain't nothing but a conversation. We have a little pizza party. We got some elders here. You're here. We're just going to have... Yo, man, tell me this, man. Lupe Fiasco, man. That song that he came out with, man. Lupe is bad, isn't he, man? Go into their world. Don't start talking about Thelonious Monk. You're going to get there down the road, but right now it's Lupe Fiasco. And tell me this, man. What was that thing about Emmett Till and Lil Wayne, man? What was that all about, man?
They're confident.
What was that about? Talk to me about it. They said, well, you know what, the brother was dropping, blah, 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 blah. Okay. You know, I have a 19-year-old son. And he went to school pretty far away from where we live, and I used to drive him back and forth. And in the morning, I couldn't deal with rap, so. Not in the morning. Okay. So we did Motown, Thelonious Monk, Bob Marley, even Beethoven in the morning. Okay. But coming back, it was him. And he put his music on. He schooled me. He schooled me on a lot of stuff that if we understood what is actually happening. And you know, when I opened up to him, he opened up to me. Because there was no judgment. I always kept telling him, but brother, what are you getting out of this? After you hear this, what's going on in your mind? And you'd be surprised, because in rap and hip-hop, what's so important to understand is that, see, we come from a generation, I come from a generation of words, hearing the words, okay? Smokey Robinson,
Right.
Marvin Gaye, Mary Wells, Temptations. Okay, that's the world that I come out of. They don't listen to words, they listen to beats. You see, it's different. It's very, very different when you listen to our young people. They don't hear the words that we hear. They hear the beats. And that's very important to understand. Whether we agree with it or not, that's not the point. But if we can understand their world and then they can understand our world, then together we can start a dialogue that can make things happen. And that's all our young people want. And whatever organization you have, that can become their family. My sister, I saw your hand up. I know I did not address it, please.
That's okay. I was just thinking to myself along those lines, how do we bring us together, the old and the new,
Yes,
the youth and
absolutely.
the adults?
Have intermediaries.
And so you've already answered it. It's like, don't shut them out.
Yes, don't shut them out. And as I look around this room, I'm looking at young people of all different ages. Okay, have them there. The gradation system says that elementary school children respect middle school children. Middle school children look up to high school students. High school looks up to college. College looks up to the 20s. So that if you have a situation where you have high school students in the room, the gradation system, have high school students in the room, have college students in the room, and that way when you have that, then they can look many times structurally.
And now they talk to each other.
Wow.
Now, my son has gone from Lil Wayne, okay, to looking more back into Tupac. My father is a jazz musician. My son now listens to Thelonious Monk, okay? He now is like, Smokey, that Smokey was saying something. But that's only in a 5-year period, from a 14-year-old youngster to now a 19-year-old young man who now wants to see a different vision for himself. Not just for himself, but for his friends. Because I had to convince him. If it's not for you to set the path for them, who's going to set the path for them? My son's now on a mission. And I would tell you, it's not a miracle thing, it's just happened to be something I stumbled on. What we all have are young people in front of them. They do not live in the world we lived in. Trayvon Martin is not unique. They know every day, when these young men walk out on the street, they don't even remotely think that they're safe inside their car. My son will tell you every day, I live in a war zone. He only tells me that now because he knows I understand. Wow. It's not unique. And we can't devalue the fact that they feel like they got to carry guns. We just can't. He's lost friends to prison. He's lost friends to being murdered. We've lost friends to cops. So they don't believe that they're being protected and served by police officers. Okay, well, we have to accept this. We really do. As middle class, middle-aged black folks, we cannot be the barrier between our young folks. Because we are the ones who believe that if we vote right, we get the right people in, if we say the right thing. No. And they live by symbolism. Well, why shouldn't they? We read Nike every day. Okay, we've been allowed to be marketed with these logos. That is symbolism. Well, they, like you said, they know it's beat, but guess what? Behind that beat is symbolism, the rapping. You know, the brothers back will tell you, each word has their own cognitive idea to them. We think it means something else, but it don't. Because we have our own background that brings light to what it is we see. Do not devalue our young men, no matter what they've been through, but listen, because they will tell you. They will tell you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And you know, I mean, and I think that what saved him is that he had a dad in you. There are so many young people that do not have that backup. So what brought him out within 5 years was the fact that he had you.
And he's on his own mission now.
Yeah.
Now he wants to be that one for his friend.
Yeah.
And he knows he's the only. He's the one. Oh, okay. You know,
Yeah.
it ain't me. I ain't telling him to me. I'm gonna tell him right here.
Yeah.
Give him a sense of responsibility, and they will leave.
Yeah. And do it and bring it to a level that we never even thought it could be. And if we, each and every one of us, particularly we as men, and it's no big thing you got to do now. Because when I pass in my neighborhood, what I do is say, hey, brother, how you doing? All the young brothers know me. And I know them. It's just a matter of speaking to them. Hey, brother, how you doing? It's that warmth. See, we have an image that you got to do a whole bunch. Yes, if they embrace you. If they bring you into their world, yes. But even just a concept of, hey, how you doing, brother? How's it going today? All right, good, man. I saw your brother the other day. He's back from school. Hey, man, tell him I said hello. Because now I'm into your family. Okay? If we start off at a certain point, and if we should start to have these pizza parties or whatever you want to have, because I'm not, whatever you want, let them talk. Let them talk.
That's right.
Because you'll hear things. Because I've been around them for so long. They talk. And sisters, the young sisters that may see me as a father, what they tell me is just, what sisters go through is just, the young sisters I've had, and again, I'm around them all the time, particularly when I was in early childhood, the things that kindergarten girls will tell me, the things that happen in their home in the 2nd grade. See, folk that don't think like that, folk that don't have that type of life system would never think those types of things could ever be going on in homes. And it is, and it's happening on so many different levels, because we are in a Western civilization that is depraved, immoral, without integrity. So therefore, it appears all right. Once we get to a point, my brothers and sisters, that we just open up. You know, like I always tell people, we have a good time. Sister Bobby, how many times I say when we were talking about this presentation, I want to go, I'm going to come there and I'm going to teach about, we'll have a good time. That's what I say, we'll have a good time. Because learning is a good time, you see, and you set it in a situation that can build. And then from there you build, you see. And these presentations that I have, I don't do question and answer. I do interactive. Because I realize the way the brain functions is that I know what I've come to talk to you about. And I'm going to talk to you about it. Like I tell people when I'm going to do a presentation, I always know where I'm going. I just don't know how I'm going to get there. Because I'm motivated by you. I'm motivated by sister making her statement. I'm motivated by you saying, I'm motivated by people. So I know where I'm going. But I also know that I am going to be guided by some of your questions, some of your comments. And so therefore, what I perceive to be an afternoon, it's 3:34. Did you want to make that break?
Yeah, 3:45.
Yeah, 3:45. We can take a break for a couple, because a lot has happened. You know, and we need time. And also the vendors. We need to go support the vendors, and I need to tell you what I got on my side here too. So we're going to do that. Please,
There's the artist that does all the work. She's sitting right outside the door.
Yes.
She's the one that does the work on the wall.
Yes. Oh, they took me on a tour.
Okay.
They took me on a tour of this place. I almost got lost. I went in the wrong. This place is so big, you got multiple restrooms. Most places I go, there's one restroom, man and female. This big place is so big, I was going in the wrong restroom. It was locked. I said, well, it was open before.
I just wanted to add on with one. When you show them you care, they can feel you.
Oh, yeah.
That's number one.
Oh, yeah.
And then you deal with them as you find them. What I do is I deal with them where I find them, and then I can show them where they need to go.
Exactly.
Because they'll receive it better when you show them care.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's no magical thing.
Right.
And those young people, no matter they got their hat sideways, sagging pants, whatever it is, you can transform them almost immediately, once they know that you care.
Right.
Once that happens, they will open up the world.
Right.
The hardest heart will open up and become that young man that they really want to be, because you see, they've been through so much pain. And our sisters too.
Yeah.
Our sisters too have been through so much pain and so much deprivation and so much, and when I said being deprived of their youth, you know, because why should your young man have to think like he's a 20-year-old something, that if he walks out he can be shot? Why do we have to have our children think like that? But that's life.
Yes, exactly. But I stopped doing the battle about picking up his pants and taking that grill out of his mouth. I had to stop doing that battle because that became a real barrier. Well, that was my barrier. And the truth is, that's his fashion sense. We need to give them respect for that. Now, I may not really be pleased with it, but that's his thing. Okay, who am I to now say, I'm going to agree with all these people that say that's a reason to shoot him down, or a reason to call him a thug?
Can I ask you?
And you know something else, if I could just say this, you know, when we're concerned about the way in which our sisters dress, you know, sisters in Africa have less on than men.
Thank you.
See, I don't have a problem with what they have on. I have a problem with the depraved, rancid mind of the Western world and what they see when they look at that young lady. Because in Africa, you can have a woman, young girl, dressed with less than that, zero rape, zero inappropriate conversation. So obviously, it's your mindset that made it what it was. Because if you look at the Kemetic walls, you'll see women biologically blessed by the Creator, carved on the walls, and nobody calls it pornography. You see, so it's the way in which you're perceiving. And you know, when I first was going, I was ashamed of myself. I'll be honest with you, I was ashamed of myself because I'm coming out the Western world. And I was ashamed of myself. And I realized the damage that this world did to me. This world I'm living in did to me because of my perceptions that I bring to a place where people are just being their everyday person. Yet because of the mind that I can't escape it, it's all around me. It's all around us constantly. These are things we have to come to grips with and face and be honest enough to say, you know, we have to come to grips with that. You know, just before we wrap up.
Okay.
Is it possible that I could ask the vendors to come in here?
Sure.
Because I'd like them to express to us what they have to say.
I just want to bring one thing. You were talking about no judging.
Yes.
And I have a 17-year-old son.
Yes.
And what's really funny is that we do come to the table with judgment, no matter how much, because I know even sometimes when he first started listening to music, my husband would say, you know, how do you listen to that? Da, 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 da. And my son is a smart aleck like most young men, and he went and he got a list of records and said, well, what's riding on the white horse? I mean, he actually took the time to come and show my husband what we were listening to, and his Bobby knows my son, like that, and he took the time to put it in his face.
That's right.
He said it might not have the same cussing.
That's right.
And he said, but some of this stuff is pretty deep.
That's right. And when the grandmama and the granddaddy start talking, bring out the song called 60 Minute Man.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Come on, you know, but you see, but here's the key though. I believe that African people, see, this is one of the greatest problems and challenges we have, and that is why the greatest gift of reproduction comes from this. Okay? You see, African people are not sexual. African people are sensual.
There we go.
And there's a deep difference between them. You know, the dancers, when, you know, I mean, from the Caribbean, African dance, and the way the sisters and the brothers move their bodies, that's beauty in motion, okay? But now if you have a certain mindset, you say, yo, that's nasty. In fact, the children call it doing the nasty. But they're only doing what is done in Africa all the time, and you don't have those concepts. You see, we like to smell, we like to look, we like to taste and touch, and you know, we like to activate our senses, and out of that comes a dynamic relationship between the ultimate male and female that then brings forward life, which is the greatest gift the Creator could. In fact, in the act, we are God. A man and a woman connected in that fashion is God, both male and female, connected, acting as God to procreate itself as God has done. It's a beautiful thing. But with that beauty comes great responsibility. And in a depraved society, our children are interested in all the things that we say are bad and they are not good. Well, when you have a religious system, when the act itself is the original sin, you know you start with a problem. And the fact that you got to be baptized to clean yourself of your parents' sin, you know that's a problem. The baptism did exist, but it was baptizing you, returning you to the waters of Nun from whence you came. It was a baptism returning you back into your waters of life. It wasn't about cleaning you. It was a glorious celebration. But we've lost that with our young people. And so therefore now they are testing the waters of white supremacy, which is nasty. Them people nasty. They never understood their mother. The Oedipus Rex, Shakespeare talks about it. The illicit relationship between the son and the mother, trying to do the father in. So we know that their minds are nasty. And we need to teach children the truth. With that act comes responsibility. And it is not until you reach a certain point in your life when you are fully prepared to handle your business that you should engage in that act. And if you are going to engage in that act, knowing you don't have the responsibility, when I used to go out as a young man, my mother used to, for those of you who remember the matchbox, matches, okay? She used to, when I used to go out, she used to always say, skip, catch. She said, you know what it said, right? Yeah, Ma, close cover before striking.
Wow.
We have to teach our children the truth. And we're not doing that. And because of that, there are many bad things happening along with the explosion of all of these diseases that are impacting us. There are serious conversations that we have to have as a community. When you talk about balanced health, okay, I came to talk to you about hidden colors, but you can't escape balanced health. Healthy, strong, mentally strong. You know, knowing these, how wonderful it is. It's great. It's quite frankly, that's how you got here.
Hello, every one of us.
And I'm not hiding. Okay? In the African tradition, we didn't hide. And the other thing is, it is not very healthy biologically to do it at night. You need to think about where your body rhythm is at night compared to where it is in the morning. It's the truth. But each and every one of us has to find our biorhythm. We have to find our biorhythm. You talk about balance. We don't know. We do it in the dark because of Adam and Eve, because they were shamed. So they had to cover themselves. They were shamed. They had to do it in the dark at night so that the Creator wouldn't see, like He didn't see. Okay, see, this is what we're experiencing. This is what the Adam and Eve story is about. The forbidden fruit. No, it's not the forbidden fruit. In fact, that's what the Creator said. The Creator tossed it to us and said, taste it. Oh, it's good. The apple a day, keep the doctor away. Yes, I would. But I really want the vendors to come in because I just want us to support them with everything possible. And I'd just like them to just briefly talk to us about what they're offering. And when we do take our break, I'd like you to please go out. But if I may just tell you this. T-shirts. I have T-shirts. I have DVDs. And there's just something I'd like to do, if I may, my sister.
Sure.
My sister, may I ask you, because you're excited about this information. Say again?
Blue and white knife.
Blue owl? Oh, yeah. Wait a minute, this sister. She got my story, she knows me. Please, my sister, if you can give everybody an oil. When I went to Kemet in 1983, I was with Dr. Bennett. I was just taken back by the information. And I came back and I was teaching first grade class. And I visited the schools, the early childhood school. They were all first grade students. And I went into a class and I was teaching and I said, oh, this isn't the best way that I'd like to do it. I'd like to figure out. I went out, saw a vendor, saw a brother on the block. He was selling Blue Nile oil. And so I said to him, wow. I said, brother, you carry White Nile? He said, the White Nile exists, but I don't carry it. So I told him, asked him where he got the oil from, and he told me. And I went out and I purchased the white Nile, blue Nile, and a special oil, and some other oils to blend this oil. And I went back to the class, and I taught my first grade about the Hopi, because the Hopi River is a very unique river that, because it originates south of the equator, it flows from south to north. We say we're going down south. They say we're going down north, up south, on the Nile River. And so I found that very interesting, and so I wanted to teach the children this. So I took the oil and I blended it as I was teaching the class with the map on the wall, and it was time to go. And I was wrapping things up, I was ready to go, and one of the children said, but Brother Booker T, can we smell it? And I never thought about smelling the oil. I was just so busy trying to teach about the oil. I never thought about the smelling of the oil. So I said, sure, I put a little bit on, and they smelled it, then okay. And then I leave to teach my next class. I come back the next week. A student from the first class was there. I was going to the second class. She said, Brother Booker T, my mother wants some of that oil. Because when I went home, my mother just was smelling me all day. and then we had company come in, and she said, smell her, smell her, she smelled her. Get that brother to make that oil for me, smell her. No, she smelled good. And then she said, even the next morning when I woke up, she was still smelling me to see if it still lasted. She said, my mother wants the oil. So I said, please go home and tell Mama that I don't make oil. I was just doing it to teach a class. She said, oh, yeah, she want that oil. That I make. And I use it as an example because I sell this everywhere that I go. In many parts of the world, they even will purchase this from me. And I only make small amounts. I only have a small amount now. But I have to make more. But I reason that because we have been blessed with many blessings. You have to keep your mind and eyes open at all times, because the ancestors are ready and willing to bless us on levels that we just have never fathomed. All you got to do is to obey.
That's right.
Okay? And when you obey, and when I say obey, I mean in a righteous way. The other side to this oil, I'd like you please just take a little bit, put it on this smoke. If you want to. Say again?
If you have another bag, I can pass out.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, my sister. I didn't realize that we had... Awesome. Please tell me your name, my sister. Christy?
Lively.
Christy, oh, I know you now, Christy Lively. My sister and I are on Facebook. She's my friend on Facebook. Christy Lively. We've been talking to each other for a very long time. She said, we're going to Sacramento to see you. Now I know you, Christy. Okay, she told me too. She said, I'll be there. Christy Lively, no doubt, no doubt. That's why she was telling brother about the Shabbat stuff. That's how she knows. Okay. Good sister, good sister. You know, you are, right now, you are seeing me. You are creating memories of the visual. We do this with each other all the time. It's going into your long-term memory. You can be in another part of the world. Somebody might say something to you. My visual will come back to you. It might not have anything to do with what we said today, but because of the visual memory that you created, there are connections that we're making with each other all the time. You're hearing my voice. You are creating auditory memories. You might hear something being said in another part of the world, and that memory is going to come back to you. Just like that. Everybody please smell that oil again. Now, you see me, you hear me, now you smell me. That's my smell. That's me. That's all I do. That's the only oil I make.
What's the name of it?
It's called Hopi and Kush. H-A-P-I-N-K-U-S-H. Is that right?
So it's the white and the blue now.
Well, the white and blue Nile is a base, but there are other oils that I add to complement and bring the oil out. It's the oil that I make. I have to make more. I didn't bring that much with me, but and by the way, let me tell you something else about the perfume industry and all the rest of that. This oil is pure. It's not essential, but it's pure. This oil is the same oil that's used by all these people that are charging you all this money. Because I did some heavy research into smells once I started making this oil. They're making a lot of money. When they charge you $105 a bottle, plus they add alcohol.
Yeah.
Do you know what alcohol they add when it says alcohol? Do you know what alcohol they're putting into the oil? Vodka.
Whoa. Yeah.
Because vodka don't smell.
It doesn't have its own scent.
Yeah. And what actually, you got to be careful putting perfume and cologne on your body, because that goes to your blood system. And if somebody gives you a breathalyzer, you could register having alcohol in your system. You could. It's possible. Happy, H-A-P-I. Happy is the word we use for the Nile River. K-U-S-H. Kush is the Cushitic kingdom. So I'm saying happy in Kush. And so alcohol also helps to absorb the oil very quickly. It also helps for it to distinguish itself off of your body, and that's why you have to use so much, because the smell don't last. This oil is the same oil that they use. I asked for $5 a bottle. It's the same oil that they charge you $100 and something for. It's all a gimmick. The profit level that these individuals are making on you, when you see those oils, oil is good for your body, but if you wear perfume or any other kind of situation with alcohol, yes, I do, but I'm sorry.
I'm with the Israel Family Farm, co-sponsor of this event, and we have a booth outside with some oils, similar, and some incense, some homemade jams, and shea butter, and I believe we also have some skin and hair pomade.